So I got a great question from a user that said, do you have any advice for an inflamed esophagus caused by acid reflux? So if you're working as a health, fitness, or a wellness professional, it's really likely that you're going to run into clients dealing with some type of esophageal inflammation issue. And this is something that was going on with me when I lost my voice for 8 years. I had so much inflammation in my esophagus and up in my larynx that I wasn't even able to talk. And 23 doctors couldn't help me figure out what was going on, so I had to figure out my own answers. And I'll put some links in the description below this video to some studies that we'll kind of reference as we're going over this information. But I just wanted to make this quick video to help you understand how to help these clients through this situation. Here we go.
TC Hale is not a doctor and does not claim to be a doctor or licensed in any type of medical field. Don't be an idiot and use anything heard on the show as medical advice. This information should be used for educational purposes only, and you should contact your doctor for any medical advice. Now get off me.
Now remember, I'm not a doctor and I don't know the person that asked this question. I don't know their situation. I couldn't possibly be giving them any advice, but we can talk about some of these things in general so you can help your clients find the right information that'll help them get past this situation. But it makes sense when they were asking about, do you have any advice for this inflammation that's caused by acid reflux? Because this stomach here, the lining in the stomach, is made to hold that stomach acid, or the HCl, that's produced when we eat food to help us acidify that food so we can break it down and get all the nutrients out of it. The stomach is made to hold that stuff. But this esophagus is not. The lining of the esophagus is not made to hold those acids. So when you have this acid coming back up, it's like battery acid. So if you were going to pour battery acid on your arm every day, that would create inflammation. So it makes sense that if this acid is coming back up where it doesn't belong, that would have the ability to create a lot of inflammation in that lining there of the esophagus. And when you research this stuff, you're going to see people saying, well, there's medications that can cause that, and smoking can cause that. But the really big one is acid reflux. The acid reflux coming back up is what's going to be creating this inflammation for most people. And this is really common, and a lot of people won't even feel that they're having reflux. They might be dealing with what's called a silent reflux situation, where they're getting that reflux, but it's not burning them there in the esophagus. So it's not feeling like heartburn in the chest. The trouble might be coming back up and even creating more trouble in the larynx like it was for me. And the thing to understand when you're helping clients fix a reflux type issue is that in most cases, reflux is not caused by having too much stomach acid like advertisers want us to believe. There's a valve at the bottom of the esophagus called a lower esophageal sphincter that opens up so food can come in, and then once that food is being acidified, that acid triggers that valve to close so the stuff doesn't come back up. So if someone's just making a small amount of acid, but it's not enough to trigger that LES valve to close, now the small amount is going to come back up and burn them, and then they have reflux. So they remove that symptom by turning off stomach acid, and now they don't feel the reflux coming back up, but they haven't actually fixed the problem of helping that LES valve close. A lot of people can actually increase stomach acid in that stomach to trigger that valve to close, and they can increase it by supplementing with things like betaine HCl capsules. And some people might even be able to fix it with just supplementing with some apple cider vinegar. But if this is really inflamed, then apple cider vinegar going down in there is going to feel like fire. Like they're not going to like that if this is really inflamed. So most clients are going to find more success by supplementing with betaine HCl to acidify that to actually stop the reflux. And you'll also find other causes like foods like milk, eggs, soy, wheat, fish, and nuts. And this is kind of what I did. A lot of times if a food is going to create some type of sensitivity in the body, then it's almost like the body's going to war against that food. And that's going to create a lot more inflammation. Some people, when they talk about esophageal inflammation, they'll say, well, my version has to do with all these white blood cells in my esophagus that's creating all this inflammation. Well, the white blood cells are part of our immune system that go to places where there's trouble to help clean up that issue. So it makes sense there would be a lot of white blood cells there if all this acid was coming up and burning and creating all this inflammation. But when we're looking at food sensitivity issues, a lot of times these come about because the food is not being properly broken down into elemental nutrients like vitamins and minerals and amino acids and fats, all the things that the body really needs. if the food is not being acidified and broken down correctly, now that food still has an identity, and if it gets into the bloodstream, well, now it's going to be viewed as an invader by the body, and the body's going to go to war against this peanut butter sandwich that you just had. So when we're looking at these foods that might have the ability to magnify this inflammation, these just happen to be some of the foods that most commonly have the ability to create food sensitivity issues when someone can't break down their food correctly. And if someone's having acid reflux, we know in most cases that they're probably not going to have enough stomach acid to trigger that valve to close, which means they're not going to have enough stomach acid to really break that food down. And an inability to make enough stomach acid is really common for a wide variety of reasons, and you're going to see a lot of clients that could have low stomach acid for different reasons. So the underlying cause could really be different from client to client. So if you don't understand how to help clients fix digestive malfunctions, I'll put a link in the description below to my book Health Pro Results, and chapters 3 and 4 kind of walk you through helping clients figure out which aspects of digestion are not working correctly and steps they can take to improve that. And the book is available on Amazon, but if you get that link in the description below the video, you can get the whole thing totally for free, and that'll walk you through that process. And if you happen to be a consumer that just watched this video because you like the topic, then we'll put a link below to my book, Kick Your Fat in the Nuts, and chapters 3 and 4 of that book go over the same topics, but that is just more appropriate for consumers, where that Health Pro Results book is really written for health professionals. But when we're looking at these foods that can cause problems, that's kind of what I found. When I was having so much trouble for so long, I was like, oh, well, if I eat this food, my voice hurts even more and my throat hurts even more, so I'm just not going to eat that food. And I kind of got down to where I had like 4 foods that I could eat without having horrible pain. So it makes sense that this would reduce the inflammation when you reduce some of the foods that your body might be going to war against, because they're looking at it as an invader. But I don't view this as the solution. This is just a way to reduce the amount of inflammation. We like to see clients fix the actual underlying cause, which is usually going to be a lack of stomach acid. So when you research this, you're also going to see a lot of remedies like ginger and chamomile and slippery elm and aloe vera and diglyceriminated licorice, and just say DGL, it's a lot easier. But I'll go ahead and circle the ones that really worked for me. Okay, I'm done. Yeah, none of those worked for me. None of those things worked because none of those things fixed the actual underlying cause of the reflux. And when you look at the Mayo Clinic paper in the link in the description below, they even talk about that this esophageal inflammation can repair when you stop the actual underlying cause that's creating it. The body has the ability to heal those tissues, but you have to fix the actual underlying cause. And a lot of these things can kind of coat, and oh, when that's coating, that really reduces the inflammation and that allows it to heal for a minute. But the acid is coming back up later, and then it's not going to do anything. These things don't fix the actual underlying cause. There's situations where some of these can be helpful if you're trying to fix a gastritis situation and such, but the reality is that some of these can actually make this situation worse, because some of them coat and they alkalize. And if we're going to alkalize the stomach even more, we're going to reduce the ability to trigger that LES valve even more. So we like to see people fix the actual underlying cause and stop the reflux, and then allow these tissues to heal on their own. So what's going to be tricky for you when you're working with clients is that reflux can have a variety of different causes. Some might have a hiatal hernia. For me, I had a lack of stomach acid, so I couldn't trigger that LES valve to close. I had a hiatal hernia that was pulling my stomach up into my diaphragm and restricting that valve from closing. I had an overgrowth in my stomach of bacteria that was putting out this alkaline waste and alkalizing my stomach even more. And then once I fixed all those things and everything started to get better, but then a few months later it all came back because I had this sinus infection in my sinuses that was feeding down into my stomach and repopulating all that bad bacteria so that all the trouble would come back. So I had to fix that again so that all these things could work together. So some clients might have layers of trouble that you're going to have to work through, but in most cases this inflammation is coming from reflux due to an inability to trigger this LES valve to close properly. So if you want to understand those things a little bit more, you can jump over right now and check out our video on 4 steps to help clients improve silent reflux, and those steps can be helpful whether the client is dealing with silent reflux or they're having heartburn symptoms. I can't wait to hear about your results.